When Eddie Robinson's your coach, you can't let Eddie Robinson down. So I felt like Tank Younger going to the NFL. He's like, hey, if you don't make this work, hey, none of us is going. So I really lead today when seeing, and makes my heart warm to see where the swag is, what Deion's doing at Jackson State. So that's how I got in the business. And I have to thank the Dallas Cowboys, Emmitt Smith, for being a winner. Because when they went to the Super Bowl, hey, you go to the Super Bowl, what do you do next? Go to Disney World. So I was able to, be a little proactive and call Disney every day and tell them about Emmitt Smith growing up in Florida. And so by the time, that stacked Dallas Cowboy team got down there and they did well in the Super Bowl, they had Deion, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin, a lot of other star players on that team, Darren Woodson.
My name is Dr. Mark Williams. Welcome to my masterclass. I have a PhD in education from West Virginia University. I have a master's in sport management and an MBA from the University of Massachusetts. I even have an undergraduate degree in sociology from William Patterson University. And currently, I'm the Global Scholar Practitioner at HBCU, Florida Memorial University. But I also work for 3 of the largest sports brands in the world, Reebok, Champ Sports, and Foot Action, but I can't go anywhere without my Jordan 1s. Join me and my guests as we explore their rise to the top through adversity and challenges. It's time to help you find a hero in you. Welcome to my masterclass. Good day, everyone. We're back. Yes, we're back. I'm a changed man. No, I'm not changed in the sense of being changed because I just want to change. I've changed because, yes, I am a married man right now. And last time I talked to you, I was an engaged man. Now I'm a married man. My beautiful wife, Peru, is in the studio with us today. And at the end, you'll see her. She'll say hello to you in Mandarin. And so I just want to say thank you for all your support. And I know you've been patiently waiting for the next show. And I'm excited about this show because I have a great friend that I've known over 20 plus years, sports marketing pioneer, sports marketing guru. He doesn't like the accolades, but I'm going to give it to him anyway because people always talk about getting your flowers when you're alive. And I'm going to give him his flowers today. How about that? And they're not daisies, they're not roses, but they're just friendship and love. How about that? Those are the kind of flowers I'm giving this brother today. And I'm your host of the Dr. Mark's Masterclass podcast here on MAP Esports Podcast Network. And we changed the name. I don't know why, but we changed the name. But MAP Esports Podcast Network, that's who we are. And we're powered by Innovation Media Enterprises, Sia and Aaron, my amazing producers holding me down, and my, as I say, my man on the wheels of steel. Many of you think that I'm using hip-hop references. Yes, I am using hip-hop references, but this is my man that holds me down with the sound. That's my man, Gage. Thank you, Gage, my sound engineer. Yes, and I hope that you're still practicing social distancing. I'm not doing that right now because I took off my mask, but I do have my mask in my pocket, and I use it all the time, and I encourage you to use your mask. But because I'm far away from my guests, I can take my mask off, okay? So my mask is off, but when I'm not around other people, and I guess I'm wearing my mask. So I'm praying that you're all practicing social distancing. My wife reminds me to make sure that I get it up like this here, around my nose, and it fits my mouth, and I'm properly, and then also sanitize my hands and wash my hands over 20 seconds. That's just plain clean etiquette anyway. But anyway, my friends, I'm hoping one day we don't have to deal with this pandemic. But today it's not about the pandemic. It's not about wearing a mask. It's not about drinking this amazing tea that my wife prepared for me. It's not about the cell phone today. It's about my man, Larry Lundy. I'm excited to bring him here to you today. I can talk about him with my eyes closed, but I had to jot some things down so you get a full perspective of who this man is. So currently right now, Larry Lundy is the president of Black Sports Professionals, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about what Black Sports Professionals are. They're not just here in Dallas, but they're all around the country. But we'll talk about that. He's the founder and president of LMG Strategic Marketing and Management firm, which was founded in 2002. Larry's really big in hospitality, tourism, sports, and entertainment. Some of his clients that he's worked with, you might have heard of some of these clients, maybe some of them. Not sure if you heard of them. They might be a household name, they might not be, but you might have heard of a company called Adidas. Yeah, that. Bose. This thing called Facebook. Fanatics, General Mills. Have you heard of that before? I know I have. Nike, Whataburger. They got great apple pies, by the way. My wife loves Whataburger now, even though we'll talk about that later. Visa, and some of the sports entertainment clients he's worked with, Harlem Globetrotters, NCAA, some little people like that. You've heard of those people. NHL, ESPN. still not convinced this is a dope brother that we're talking about. NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith, pro softball broadcaster A.J. Andrews, and the list goes on and on. In addition to that, I met Larry probably 21 years ago when he was a corporate executive, okay? So I know him from corporate America before he started doing all these amazing things. But prior to that, he was also the president of Dallas All Sports Association. He was the senior vice president of Host Communications, now IMG. And he was the director of sports marketing for Walt Disney Company. That's when I knew Larry Lundy, okay? And he did over 300 events for Disney's, now ESPN's Disney Wild World of Sports. This man has done it all. And he's from the Dallas area, so he knows a little bit about Dallas. He graduated from Austin College. He's on the board of the Dallas All Sports Association. He's the president, as I mentioned, president of the Black Sports Professional Association. He's on the advisory board of UNT, Bridgewater Academy, Best in Class Education Foundation. I mean, this brother, I mean, he's still here with us. That's what I love about him. And he's young. He's my age. Okay, my friends. Last but not least, I want to say that, you know, and this is not me reading anything. This is, it's rare that you meet someone that has integrity, and not just in the sports industry, but just in every industry. It's not every day that you meet someone that you can have a friendship with, that you've also, I really never really worked with Larry, but we've always had a friendship. We've always been around each other, but someone who has integrity that I don't know anyone that does not like Larry. I don't know anyone. Now, usually you meet people that have an enemy here or there or over there. Never. This brother is everywhere. And in terms of esports, we're going to talk about esports, obviously, because we talk about esports here and pop culture. Larry is also in the cusp of working with esports as well. And I can't provide enough superlatives about this brother and talk about who he is as an individual. And I remember about a couple weeks ago, he knew I was getting married, and I said, "Aren't you coming to the wedding?" And he said, "I wouldn't miss it." And I looked up, and he was there. He's a man of his word. And if he said he's going to do something, he's going to do it. So if he came to my wedding in the middle of a pandemic, you know he's my friend, okay? So last but not least, I just want to say, Larry, thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for being a friend. He's smiling right now. He usually would interrupt me when I say nice things about him, and he's not going to say anything right now because I got the microphone, okay? So without further ado, my dear friend Larry Lundy, what's up, man?
Dr. Mark Williams. After that show, I think it's over. I don't know where we go from there. I mean, it's great to see your lovely wife, Peru. Congratulations on your royal wedding.
Thank you.
It was definitely unique. And you forgot to say Foot Action. We got close to doing some business when you're a senior executive there at Foot Action. And now you're here in Texas. And welcome home.
Jarvis
Christian College.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't want to talk about things we almost did because I almost did a lot of things with a lot of people. But yeah, we were very close at Host Communications and Foot Action. Our corporate headquarters was in Irving, Texas, and Host Communications is down here. And Larry was doing this thing, trying to get the business. But unfortunately, we weren't able to drum up business. We kept the friendship, and I'm glad we kept the friendship all these years. So thank you so much. Yes. Now, see, I was bragging about you, talking about the Disney, your role at Disney. Tell us about just your evolution in sports. How did that even evolve in terms of you getting the opportunities of working in the sports industry, growing up in Texas, and then going to college in Texas? Did you know that you wanted to pursue sports in terms of a career, or how did that happen?
Well, I actually have to thank my father. I was actually born in Cleveland, Ohio. He took me to my first NFL game, the Dallas Cowboys versus the Cleveland Browns. My first Cav game, which out in Richfield, Ohio. They didn't have the intercity stadium there, and I had an interest in them. And so growing up, I played sports, played football, basketball, and baseball here in Texas. And but those days there was not a business of sports per se. There was no sports management schools per se when I was growing up. Other than playing sports, the jobs you can get in Texas, I think oil and gas, people were watching JR, real estate, selling real estate and banking. And I was selling real estate out of school. And a friend of mine had a brother who was playing with the Mavericks at the time and asked me, could I do a basketball camp? And I told him, hey, how hard could it be? I played high school basketball, and it was actually one of the hardest things I ever did, getting the sponsorship, getting the player, dealing with the demanding parents at Green Hill, and where I went, and the customer service and the licensing, the registration, and everything it took to put on the event. But after making more money at that than my day job, I said, wow, there is a business of sports. So that's what launched, and a company called Advantage Marketing Group, Warner Scott, hired me to kind of start the sports division. And at that time, it was kind of like the boomerang, where we worked with the top athletes here in Dallas, Tony Dorsett and Emmitt Smith, Rolando Blackman, who was kind of like the Luka and Dirk of the Mavericks at the time, and the Bayou Classic, which we met. And actually kind of put us on the map, because not only did we initiate the Bayou Classic being the first black college game on TV, NBC wasn't able to sell it the first year. So I actually moved to New York, was able to sell $1 million a year for 5 consecutive years in sponsorship and keep the game on. When Eddie Robinson's your coach, you can't let Eddie Robinson down. So I felt like Tank Younger going to the NFL. He was like, hey, if you don't make this work, hey, none of us is going. So I really lead today when seeing, and makes my heart warm to see where the SWAC is, what Deion's doing at Jackson State. So that's how I got in the business. And I have to thank the Dallas Cowboys' Emmitt Smith for being a winner, because when they went to the Super Bowl, hey, you go to the Super Bowl, what do you do next? Go to Disney World. So I was able to, be a little proactive and call Disney every day and tell them about Emmitt Smith growing up in Florida. And so by the time, that stacked Dallas Cowboy team got down there and they did well in the Super Bowl, they had Deion, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin, a lot of other star players on that team, Darren Woodson. But once they got down there, they already knew about me, Emmitt Smith. They already had the relationship, so after the game, it was an easy decision. Emmitt went to Disney World, and they said, hey, we're going to build this state-of-the-art sports complex. If you know anybody who might be interested, let me know. I talked to Emmitt about it. It was a no-brainer. And so when they started the business, Reggie Williams, Phil and Gil Disney, who's no longer with us.
My alpha brother.
From Dartmouth. We had kind of the state-of-the-art sports complex, which really spawned this growth of youth sports. Now every metropolitan area has a multi-sports complex, but being the first director of sports marketing.
Let's go back for a second. I think you lost some people here. So you're telling me that Disney Sports Complex, I'm doing this for entertainment purposes because I know the answer to this, but I want him to say this again. So you were responsible for helping the sports marketing in terms of the whole Disney Sports Complex become what it is today.
Me and 1,000 other people. I mean,
you
Reggie
were the director
Williams,
of marketing. Stop it.
Yeah, but we had a great team there. I mean, we had a very diverse team. Probably more so in the history of Disney there, and everybody had an expert. Charles Davis, who's now on, CBS. He was there, or Fox, So there were a lot of Reggie Williams, a lot of national people that were there working at Disney to help launch that business, which is now coming up on next year, be its 25th anniversary.
So tell me about the I'm going to Disney World thing. Did you start that?
No, Michael Eisner's wife started that. Some astronauts came back from the moon. They're having dinner, and Michael asked them, "Hey, you guys just got back from the moon. What are you going to do next?" And she said, "You should go to Disney World." So she started that actually as an idea, but they pioneered that, and that was a really special and unique campaign that still goes on to this day.
Did you, for sports now, what was the first sports person that did that? Was that Emmitt Smith?
Phil Simms.
Phil Simms for the Cowboys, for the New York Giants. Yes. Okay, interesting. Okay. So what was your time like at Disney? What was special about working at Disney during that time when you saw the Cowboys, as you mentioned, Emmitt Smith and the Cowboys were having their heyday, but just working with sports in general at Disney, what was that like during that time period?
Well, you thought you were going to a sports job, but really for Disney, it was really a job to help fill heads and beds, as they say, hotel rooms and theme park tickets, So we were just part of the piece of a really big puzzle, but working for the number one entertainment company at the time was kind of once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But one thing, when you have a sports complex, there was dirt there. It was just barren land. And so we actually had to build that from the ground up. So when you put a date on the calendar, March, 1997, it's going to be built. It's going to be built. So there's no do-overs, pushback. So there was a lot of late nights and long working days. But, like I said, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And getting a chance to work with other companies in the Disney program, the theme parks, publishing, broadcast, working with talent. Also working with ESPN, which was acquired at the time, and ABC.
So after you did this with Disney, did you see your career, since you work with all these different brands, did you see yourself working with different brands after that? Because you seem like you went into the agency route and sort of almost like an agency because you had such robust relationships with so many different entities. What was the transition like leaving Disney and then going over to a major agency? What was that like?
Well, actually, there was something behind that drove there, really family. My mother actually was cancer at the time. So since she had cancer and she was here in Dallas, I thought, it'd be best to be back here closer to her. And at the time, Disney were going to probably our 5th year anniversary there. So Mark Kidd and Jim Host at the time had a division here that was doing emerging markets and something I was familiar with. They had the Bayou Classic, had the P&G Black Like Me tour, and so it was some things that from emerging markets with a chance to build a business. It was May 2001. I came here to do that and also be close to my mother at the time, and she passed 5 years later, so I really appreciate those 5 years I get a chance to work with her. What I didn't anticipate was in September 11th, 9/11 happening.
Right.
So at that time, I talked to Mark and went to Mr. Host and said, hey, 9/11, things are going to be changed. Say, everything's going to be great. But the next week, things weren't great. Dealing with the chief financial officer, they wanted us to make a cut. And one of the individuals and people on my team, they wanted to cut. We had 10 people on our team. We're the only people that spoke Spanish. And we're doing multicultural marketing programs for major companies. So, it ended up working out where I had to start a company at that time, because at that time there was not another option. It was either them or I at the time. So that's what we decided to do. But they gave me the office space and let me start a company right there in their building, and that's how it started. It wasn't
LMG Mark LMG.
Right.
Yes, okay.
I was not. There was no business plan. There was no time. It was just a chance to start it and service the people that we had. And in 9/11, there was it was just like the pandemic.
Right.
A lot of things shut down. And so thank God, and like I said, our faith, and made it through that. And my son was born in Orlando, made the trip, and like I said, we came back here, and that's where we started.
So tell me your company. Were you able to work with some of the clients that you had at Disney? Would a lot of them follow you over to LMG, or how did you jump up business to start your company?
Well, it was basically relationships, people that I work with. At Disney is just. It's so broad and based. There's a lot of people come to Disney, so in terms of the athletes, the youth sports, a lot of that expertise was here. And especially at Host Communications, we're working the Final Four, we're working with talent, we're working with sports camps. So a lot of things I did at Advantage Market Group before that, I just continue to do, and based on your reputation and what you'd already been successful with, to just try to build on that one at a time.
Okay. So when we mentioned earlier just about the way that you were able to parlay this into a very successful business, but you've worked with a plethora of different companies and brands outside of sports. For example, Bose, Facebook, General Mills. What kind of relationships did you have with them, and did you bring them over to the sports marketing side, or did you manage their business outside of sports marketing? What was that like?
Well, it's a combination. A lot of those are talent driven. When you work with, Malcolm Butler, who was a Super Bowl hero, and you try to plan a lot of things for those clients, you are able to structure those relationships. And then when you work with a property like Jack and Jill of America, who's not a sports client, you're able to go to partners like American Family Insurance and Facebook, to Meta, if you will now, to kind of share how that story might be told and how you can help tell their story through just basic strategic marketing. It's not all about sports, but some of those relationships, AJ Andrews, she's actually been a proven broadcaster, but professional softball player. But her brands that you negotiate those partnerships and work with her, whether it be East Bay or she's doing things with T-Mobile and other properties now that give you that opportunity to make those connections. But I think all the things we've done in the past based on start with idea and how you can help solve problems.
Okay. I just want to remind everybody we're listening to Larry Lundy, sports marketing pioneer, on the MAP Esports Podcast Network, powered by Innovation Media Enterprises. Sia and Aaron, my amazing producers, and my man on the wheels of steel, 1 and 2, Gage, and also Jacob Miles, who created this amazing network. We're talking to Larry Lundy here. Larry, I'm curious to know about, you talked about the Bayou Classic. Okay, and the great Eddie Robinson. Tell everybody who Eddie Robinson was and who he is and what was it like working with him, but also what the Bayou Classic property is, because people need to understand that. Because this is a great segue into we're talking about esports, because we're talking about a pioneer that created something that will never be replicated again, in my opinion, in college coaching, but also a property in the Bayou Classic that is synonymous with not only the black culture, but something that is part of the college football, in general. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, first, black college HBCUs are just a national treasure. I think you know that at Jarvis. And it actually started here. We have a local promoter, Al Wash, who's doing a game here that we helped the city of Dallas help welcome Marionette Strauss here with Coach Eddie Robinson. Got a chance to meet them, Dr. Green. They had some interest and wanted to know if we can help take their game and school to a new level. Invited us to the Bayou Classic. Dr. Dolores Spikes from Southern and Dr. Johnson from Grambling said, you know what, if you can get something on TV, great, young man. We're going to go back and enjoy our turkey dinner, but we thank you for coming by. Didn't think it would happen, but met Coach Robinson. Coach Robinson not only believed that, he had a marketing SID promoter, Collie Nicholson, who was the ultimate promoter. And if you know anything about Grambling football, and Everson Walls, who was my first client, and also his father was my first coach here in Dallas, my Little League team. They were already going around the nation playing games. They were already bringing a national band. They were called the Black Notre Dame. Eddie Robinson he was almost like a black president. He was like John Wooden in basketball. He was ultimate of honor, integrity, character, and he could have taken on many other coaching jobs, but he stayed there at Grambling. And at the time, he put more players in the NFL than any college program. I'm talking about Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. Coach Robinson was the ultimate in terms of American. That was his thing. His thing was, George Steinbrenner, ultimate American. He was really about promoting black college and promoting Grambling. And so the Bayou Classic, having the chance to go to NBC, was historic because Ken Chanzer and John Miller, at first we were thinking about what other teams could we play Grambling. They said, why not we just do the Bayou Classic? And after their sales team couldn't sell it, moving to New York, we had people like Spike Lee, had Malcolm X at the time, advertising the game. We had a lot of national people that got behind it because every Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon after Thanksgiving is the Bayou Classic history. It would be the sidelines. Every rap group wanted to be on the sidelines. Louis Johnson doing that started with Ahmad Rashad. So there's a legacy of that. And I think seeing what Deion and Jackson State are doing right now and all of the SWAC and black college sports and Eddie George, Tennessee State, seeing a kind of resurgence of black college sports.
So tell me, because as we talk about esports, well, the video game industry is a $200 billion space, but esports is closing in on a $2 billion brand. How looking at the things that you've done with Disney Sports to working with the Bayou Classic, how do you see the correlation between esports and what we're doing in esports, but also in professional sports and college sports? Do you see any correlation, and how do you see esports living and maybe learning from traditional sports?
Well, they're connected, and if you think about it, all major traditional sports need to pay attention because our youth is grown up in esports. A lot of them, we were kicked out of the house and little go play outside. Play like our kids today are growing up inside and they're on screens. And every sport that is imaginable, even EA, when you play, it's in the game, football and their college program, which hopefully they bring it back. EA Sports, Madden, NBA 2K, that takes them to a new audience. And the fact that they're playing traditional games and new games that are being created every day with Roblox, and now you're getting into fighter games, and now you're being influencers. This is the future. So if you're know anything about esports, and we have mutual friend Danny Martin that actually is creating a space for people to learn about esports. Even at our age, we have to be with it or other kind of lead, follow, or get out of the way because it's part of the ecosystem.
What's the learning curve for you been like? Even though you've been a part of traditional sports, was there a large learning curve in terms of understanding the terminologies, the ecosystem? Because a lot of people that work in sports marketing like us in the past have this idea, since we've done marketing, we could do anything. I personally don't think that's the case. I think that you really have to understand the audience of the video game industry in order to be immersed into it. Because if you're not, you're not going to be included in the space. Is that something that you've seen, or have you noticed that people like ourselves that have strong marketing backgrounds want to go in there gangbusters, but then they realize that they can't just do that? Or what has your experience been like?
Well, I think you actually have to do your homework, but also you don't have to play Fortnite for 4 hours every night to understand it.
Right.
So, because I'm not doing that,
right.
But what you can do is just have a general appreciation and expertise of what gamers go through, what parents go through, and what the platform is for growth, and you want your kids to be well rounded, and you don't want them in there 24 hours a day. But that's part of this generation.
Right.
So I think as long as you understand the business, you understand the game, you don't have to play it for 4 hours.
Right.
But I played Madden a little bit, played my son NBA 2K, but as he's getting up, I'm not playing Fortnite for 4 hours and collecting, all kind of rubbish to get the next level. And thank God he's not here. He's in law school, so we don't have to worry about that. But for this next generation, it is part of our lexicon. And so if you're not understanding what esports is, you might be lost in the shuffle going forward. That's just going to be part of the way it is. You don't have to play it, but you have to understand it.
Right. So do you right now, you a good friend of ours, and who's now the commissioner of the first esports league, HBCU esports league, Rod Chappelle. He was one of the co-founders of the league with me, and now he's the head of the league. He's a commissioner. What was it like working with Rod, and what did you learn about the HBCU space in terms of what we're doing in HBCUs around esports?
Well, first of all, it's a tremendous opportunity for our HBCUs, not to get left behind. Sometimes we may not have the resources, may not have all the amenities a major college or university has. But in partnering with Rod and bringing a PGA to bear or other partnerships, they're able to bring those resources right there on campus. Because these kids are playing games right now, but now they can get paid to play games. They can learn, and not only learn about math, engineering, but learn about a whole new industry that's right there in their campus. And they can be on the same equal partners and platform and on level with their majority colleges, whether it be North Carolina T, Texas here, or Jarvis Christian. They're getting the same opportunity. So I think it's an opportunity for those kids, and also for academia. They're starting esports programs. Yeah. Maybe you can enlighten us on what it's like to teach it.
Oh, now he's interviewing me.
Yeah, because that's something that people want to understand. What are the opportunities?
Right. Yeah, I think one of the things that people have to understand is three facets to the esports piece in the college arena. One facet is the competitiveness of playing varsity esports, where you have over 500 teams 500 schools that are playing esports, and so esports games, and they're getting scholarships like you would play if you were to go to Duke for basketball, or you would go to Alabama for football. You're getting scholarships, so that's one piece of it. Then there's the intramural piece of it, where there's over maybe 3,000 schools where they have esports arenas, or they have video games at their campus, and students are playing against each other and other schools. Then you have the academic component. It's only about 85 universities that actually have a curriculum, have classes, or a minor in it. And so that's where I come in. My job is to educate parents, administrators, educators on what the opportunities in terms of career paths they can choose in terms of getting into the space of working in the video game industry. So a lot of people, they get caught up in the buzzword esports, and I'm like, hey, I want to major in that. I'm like, that's like majoring in basketball. I was like, so that's why I'm not a big fan of saying let's get a major in esports. I'm more interested in you learning sports marketing and understanding the kind of the foundation of what that is first. And once you understand that, then you can start looking at the esports arena and how it's evolving, and then how you can connect the dots between the two. Like you said, they're both similar. And then I also think it's important that the people that are traditional sports marketers, that they educate the people in the video game industry, because I think they can help each other. And I think once that happens, right now you see a $2 billion space, I think it can quadruple immediately. And I'm going to encourage you to continue to keep talking to the Danny Marketons of the world, the Rod Chappelles of the world, the Winstocks of the world, and many others, so that you can leave your footprint in that space too. Because there's so much we can talk about what you do, what you've done before, and how you can apply what you've done and bring it into what's in pop culture today. And right now, today it's esports and video games and entertainment and AR, VR. That's where we're headed, and it's exciting. At the same time, the properties that you work with, the Bayou Classic and some of the other big brands like the Nike and Adidas, you can integrate all these things into one if you really want to. And I think that for sports marketers, we have to be smarter, and we have to use our knowledge of what we've done in the past, but also understand what's happening in the present.
Yeah, I agree. And not only do I plan on doing it, I am doing it because I think Rod and those folks who committed, and Danny, they've committed their life. They've sacrificed for the good of better of our future. And I think there's some value there. It's mutually beneficial to bring traditional sports there. In fact, everything I've done with NFL or NBA, there's a game there.
Yes.
EA Sports, They have 5 studios around the nation at least, where they're in Orlando, Tiburon, and so being in those studios, seeing how that's made, even this week coming up, being at the IAPA convention with amusement and business, it's all about augmented reality and what's future. Our kids are always about what's next.
Let me ask you a quick question, because I think we talked about the Black Sports Professionals. Talk about the origins of it, how it was founded, and how they have various chapters all around the United States called Black Sports Professionals, where you're the president in Dallas. Tell us about the origins of it and what the purpose of the Black Sports Professional is.
Well, it's really simple. The premise is that all of our kids think, especially our males, think they're going to be professional athletes. In fact, the number might be as high as 75% think they're going to be Dak, LeBron, or Zeke, and the reality is less than 1% and 1/10 of 1% of our kids will actually make it to pro. However, just like me growing up, and now it's not the case, where there is a whole industry of the business of sports. So whether it be in finance, marketing, technology, facilities, you can work in sports. So in the early 2000s, Bruce Wimbish and a number of individuals started Black Sports Professionals, and over the last 3 years, it's just been relaunched, and with their national office providing kind of the infrastructure what's happening nationally in every major city where there are people who are working in the business of sports. We've actually started to organize chapters, and then here in North Texas, we're just not Dallas, we're North Texas.
Oh, wow.
We've got Fort Worth, Arlington, Dallas. People work with the Rangers, Cowboys in the business of sports, having monthly programs. And our 4 pillars here are career awareness, professional development, career advancement, and community and scholarship. In other words, we don't want you to get in the business, we want you to advance the business. And half of our board, has gotten promoted or gotten new jobs this week. In fact, we lost our marketing chair. She's going to the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we have another young lady going to the American Airlines Center, another going to an agency, Genesco. So we're
but
very
you got to
excited.
fill those spots, right?
We fill those spots, but they're still here. So all of those are here except our marketing chair, and we've already filled it with LaDondra Wilson. Who you already
yes.
know.
She's one of our guests of our show. Where that's a great choice.
But I will say, being in North Texas, this is sad but true. And this, a lot of our leaders here are the first to ever do it, and even they're young. Breon Dennis on our board is our first vice president at the Frisco Rough Riders. Even Scottie Rodgers.
Yes, Scottie.
over the Cotton Bowl, the first to be an executive there. So so our board is very strong.
Shout out to Scottie, Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, and I still think Sharice Lee, who's doing that, and Destiny, our membership director.
Destiny, yes, I remember Destiny when she was an undergrad. Yes,
right.
How's she doing?
She's doing great. You want to get a membership? Come on in. She's ready for you.
Okay. Well, I'm here and next to Dallas, so we don't have one in Hawkins.
And for our monthly programs, we want to make sure you make with Kelly Frazier because she's over at Genesco now. So
okay.
So what I've learned from this is if you come to serve, you will get served, and there's new opportunities there every day. Okay.
Well, we love that. So tell everybody how to get in contact with Black Sports Professionals and also Larry Lundy.
Well, Black Sports Professionals North Texas, it's bspntx.com. You go to the website. You can find out about us, find out what's coming up monthly programs. We have a program coming up this week, Black in Sports, which talks about your career experience in that. So we're looking forward to that. And myself, you can LundyMarketingGroup.com, and you can find me on LinkedIn, LundyMarketingGroup.com, Larry Lundy.
You're on Twitter too, aren't you?
Twitter at LundyLMG. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And let's let everybody know, because people listening to this show are from different cultures. Let them know that you don't have to be black to be supportive of your organization.
Of course not. No,
because a lot of people have this misconception of, for example, we're at an HBCU, for example, at Jarvis. Oh my goodness, it's not for black people. It's only for black people. No, it's not. It's for everyone. So let everyone know, even though it says Black Sports Professionals, this basically is an organization that's really to help black professionals move up the corporate ladder and identify what they want to do. But we also need help from everyone to help them get to that point. So let other people that are non-black understand how they can help black sports professionals.
Well, it's just like anything else. Where it be black attorneys, black doctors, black lawyers. We're not going to be able to be successful without being able to be incorporated into the general market community. So we've had some great advocates, and if you want to get involved with us, we also have participants, and all of them don't have to be African American to participate. And I would like to, thank. We've had great partners. We just happen to have one of the leaders like Dallas Mavericks who support us, who just happen to have a CEO like Cent Marshall and a GM, Nico Harris, and Jay Kidd. So you have 3 African Americans in leadership positions, which may not be in the average sports organization. But guess what? Who hired him? The owner, Mark Cuban. So you're going to have advocates, ambassadors, and sponsors in this game. And I think in the sports industry, it's different than anybody else. So you can get involved, volunteer. We have programs. And in fact, many of our speakers, because we don't hold all the positions in the National Hockey League and baseball. So we actually invite those executives in to come speak, especially new sports like lacrosse. And even the commissioner of the rugby league is here, Kilbrew. So we may have him on a program. So we're integrated. We're just not, about us. It's about for us, by us. But we need the whole community to
football reference. No, I'm kidding. Let me stop.
Yeah, so we're all in this together, just like life.
Yes. As Nelly would say, we all we got. So, Larry, would you come back to come join us on the show again? Because there's so many other things we have not tackled yet. Would that be cool?
It'd be an honor, Dr. Williams.
Okay. All right. Well, that'd be great. And I want to say to you, even though I know you have an open invitation to Black sports professionals, but I want to come and do some kind of professional development, maybe the art of networking, the top 10 ways to win over a room. I don't know. I want to do something.
You're doing it right now with this podcast. We're going to have everybody tune in and watch you.
Okay, but maybe we can do our podcast at one of your shows, maybe at one of your events. I don't know, but I want to do my part.
We're definitely going to go back and bring that back to the group.
Okay.
You're part of us now. You're here.
You heard that, right? We got this right. You heard it, right? And my wife, you heard it too, right? All right, Peru. All right. So I really enjoy spending time talking to you, Larry. The interesting thing is when Larry and I talk, we never really talk about the business of what we're doing. We talk about life, and his son's in law school now. We talk about just where I'm at, where he's at. We never really talk about, hey, let's partner on this. When we have talked about it, timing is not always great sometimes, right? But we talk about our friendship. And it was interesting talking to him about his career because he never really talks about his career. He's a very humble man. But today he had to talk about it today, and I'm happy that he did. And we're going to have Larry back again to talk more about Black sports professionals, but also about his career, but also the evolution of esports, this juggernaut. And also, we want to talk next time about what kind of games he plays and how good he is at some of these games. And we're going to maybe do a challenge with him, maybe some old Space Invaders or some Galaga or something like that, because young kids are like, what's that? So we might do something like that. We're not going to talk about 2K. We're not talking about Madden. We're not talking about Smash Brothers. We're going to play some old school games like, get Galaga or Space Invaders. How about that?
We can do that if you like, Mark.
Yeah.
But, hey, we'll
I have fun. I'm not saying I'm great at it. Yeah, we got to turn the clock around. We got to show these young cats what we did back in the day. So, again, thank you, Larry Lundy, for joining me on Map Esports Podcast Network, Dr. Mark's Masterclass Podcast. My first time back. Yes, I'm a married man. Thank you. My beautiful wife, Peru, is here, and I'm going to end every show with that. People are like, what is he talking about? That's my wife. I got to represent. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, big shout out to our partners, Aaron and Sia, Innovation Media Enterprises, and I got to give a shout out to my man on the wheels of steel, Gage, and also got to remind everyone that this would not be possible if it was not for our special friend here that created this network, and we want to thank him all over again. And I just am honored and blessed to work with so many great people on this network, including Lewis Johnson, and he's getting ready to go to the Winter Olympics, and just happy to be part of this team, and I'm looking forward to making sure that we have another great show coming up for you. I'm not going to tell you who's going to be coming up, but we have a very special guest. All my guests are special, but I put emphasis on the special all the time. They always have something special in my life. But as we end every show, I want to remind everybody that you can't control everything. You can't control anyone but yourself, okay? You can control 3 things: what you think, what you do, and what you say. That's it. That's all you can control. And a lot of times my wife reminds me, you need to, practice what you preach. Okay, because sometimes I try to control everything, and she's like, nah, you can't do that. But she says it in Mandarin probably. Anyway, think what you do, what you say. So we are finished here. Thank you, Larry, again for coming. and we appreciate you. And Jacob Miles, the man that created this network, I gotta shout out him all the time for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And also John Davidson, one of my dear friends who just celebrated his 1-year anniversary of MAP Esports Network. Shout out to you, brother. I'm sorry I was not able to make the party, but I pray that I will be there for the next year. But I'm always here for you, John Davidson. Congratulations on your 1-year anniversary. And again, we will see you soon on another episode of Dr. Mark's Masterclass podcast on the MAP Esports Network. Peace.